very, very pleased that he has stepped up today to do a program for us. And we would like to just bring him up, Aaron Spencer.
Well, good morning. I'm Aaron Spencer with Arctic Refrigeration. We're here in Madisonville, Kentucky. I'm pretty nervous this morning, so if I stumble and ramble, forgive me. So, anyway, we've been in business since 1973. The company was started by my uncle and father, Bruce and Terry Spencer, transplants from Northern Illinois. The business originally started as a heating, air, and commercial refrigeration company, and it has since evolved quite a bit. We no longer do HVAC work. We're strictly food service equipment and restaurant supply. We do both new and used equipment and service. There's nothing technologically flashy about it. It's very simple. It's equipment, and that's kind of what we do. We do a lot of problem solving and things like that with our customers, but that's pretty much what we do. There's nothing much to it. I joined the business in April of 2009. I came back from Lexington, Kentucky, where I was doing banking, and Bruce and Terry decided it was time for them to retire, and they said, "If you want to come back, this is your time." I had worked for the company on and off since I was, 15 or 16 or so. So I kind of knew the business a little bit. I knew how to pressure wash equipment. I knew how to pick up equipment. I knew how to deliver equipment, but I didn't know anything about the business side. So when I came back in April, I spent the first 2 years just basically getting acclimated to business, learning the books, learning the accounting, learning what I was doing, and trying not to screw up. Because when you're in business for 36 years, you got somebody new coming in, and you're kind of like, well, you know. So people would ask me, shortly after I came back, how's business going? And I would, my famous comment was, well, I haven't run it into the ground yet, so I'm doing okay. But 36 years in business with 2 people that are still around, that's big shoes to fill. And it's I felt like the first year or 2, I was constantly like, okay, what are they going to say what I do? And so the first 2 years, I did basically nothing different. I came in and just did the same thing and got acclimated. It wasn't until years 3, 4, and 5 that I really started doing things differently, putting my own spin on things. Looking at what they were doing and saying, do we need to still do this, or do we need to do something different? There's been a lot of things that we have done different. I'm very lucky that Bruce and Terry are both still around because I consider them my advisory board. They run a separate company out of our office space. So I get to go to them and ask them questions and bounce ideas off them and say, hey, have you ever done this before? Have you ever done that before? And they say, yes, we've done it before. No, it didn't work. Or yes, we did that and it worked. Or I wouldn't do that. Or maybe you should think about this. But anyway, it's been good to have them around. Some of the things that we have changed since I came on board is, of course, the simple things, advertising change, cutting costs, doing this different, doing that different. But some of the big things is we're moving more towards internet sales. And that's been a big problem, not problem, but challenge for us, is we are no longer competing with someone from Bowling Green or Evansville or Paducah. We're competing nationally because that's where equipment and supplies have gone. It's gone on the internet. And with that, you get, those that have made the switch early and started selling online early have got an edge, they've got a market, they've got big sales, and they can run on much smaller margins, which means it squeezes us considerably. We don't have that many sales. We haven't made the jump to online sales as early as everybody else, so we don't have the volume yet. That's what we're working towards, but it's been a big challenge for us. So we're moving towards that. Another big step we've taken is we are now marketed under Kentucky Restaurant Supply. This year marks the first year. January we rolled that name out. Arctic Refrigeration was no longer really reflecting what we did. When you hear Arctic Refrigeration, you still think of commercial refrigeration and maybe heating and air. And it doesn't help that there's another company in town that's Arctic Heating and Air, and everybody calls you and says, well, my air conditioner's broken. We don't do that. So with Kentucky Restaurant Supply, we felt it gave us a better marketing venue to push what we really do, which is commercial equipment and restaurant equipment supplies. So when you hear Kentucky Restaurant Supply, most everybody knows pretty much what you do right away. So that has been a big challenge, a big change for us. Another big challenge is finding good help. We struggle with, we're very fortunate right now, we've got 2 great service techs, but finding qualified service techs to help us do what we do. Not everybody's going into that industry, so it's a challenge to find good qualified talent that's willing to stay in Madisonville and work for a company like that, for a small company. So those are some of the challenges that we face and some of the things that we've done differently. And I don't know where I'm at on my time, but I feel like I've just breezed through this really quick and didn't really. We got 2 minutes or something.
As I'm stepping into Ruth Ann's feet and you didn't correct them, I have no idea.
Okay. I think that was about 6 minutes, so let's open it up for questions.
Aaron, where do you go for finding good help? Because that's come up a few times. We're hearing that over and over again. Where do you look?
It's tough because, like I said, not everybody is going into commercial restaurant equipment repair.
Oh, come on, it's so sexy.
Yeah. You would think that people would be beating down the doors to work on a greasy old fryer. I mean, what's not to like about that? No, it's we find that if we can find somebody that's got a mechanical aptitude to them, they're mechanically inclined, problem solvers, and then we take them and kind of train them ourselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not good if they know too much. Sometimes you need to kind of get somebody in there that's just ready to learn and is ready to work for an intro level salary. Because a lot of the people that we come in might have some mechanical aptitude, or might have some background in electrical, or might have some this or that, and they want big money. Well, I can't afford to pay them big money because they can't run out there and do service right away. So it basically comes down to you find somebody who's just got a mechanical aptitude.
So word of mouth, or do you have like a...
Word of mouth. Fortunately, we like, for instance, our last service tech is a nephew of my business partner.
Yeah.
He is extremely good and extremely mechanically inclined, problem solver, critical thinker, and there's a lot of that in his nephew. So that has been an extreme blessing to have, him willing to come up, and he's like 22 and he doesn't know where he's wanting to go. So every other week he's like, well, maybe I want to be a firefighter. No. You want to be fryers. This is what you want to do. And so it's got to kind of get him back and hone him and say, you'll make it there. There will be good money in this job. You just got to get to the level that we need you at. So, but we've done papers before. We've done a lot of times we've got resumes coming in on a regular basis, so if I need somebody, I can pull somebody out and call them. So,
I was curious, you said you're transitioning more to an internet-based model. Where does your service side of your business fit into that as you transition?
That is a good question, and that was one of the things that I left out kind of in my presentation. So I foresee the service side model, it's strictly local. Our service encompasses about a 50-mile radius. Now, we do go farther. We're a distributor for a manufacturer, so we will go a little farther for that distributor, but generally we stay within about 50 miles. Don't go over into Evansville very much. Don't go down into Tennessee. Don't really get down into Paducah, and stay west of like Hartford, Beaver Dam area. So generally about 50 miles. The service isn't going to play in the internet model as much because the internet model is more how cheap can you get it and how fast can I get it. And I don't care about service. I don't care. I might be sending something to Washington, and all I'm doing is I'm going to ship it from the manufacturer. I'm going to ship it to Washington. That's the internet business model. Now, my internet business model will be good for those local companies as I get the word out, as I get the Google AdWords and all the things that I'm not going to do, that I'm not savvy enough to do. But once we get that out there and start marketing to Hartford, Beaver Dam, or maybe Evansville, we can support that to some degree, and that to me will be a competitive advantage. I do kind of foresee the Arctic Refrigeration. My initial thought when I first rolled out Kentucky Restaurant Supply was, we're going to market Kentucky Restaurant Supply as equipment and supplies, and that's going to be Kentucky Restaurant Supply. And Arctic Refrigeration is going to be our service, and it's going to be our parts. Well, as this year has gone by, I'm realizing more and more it's hard to pull the two apart. You know, how do you answer the phone? Do you answer Kentucky Restaurant Supply, or do you answer Arctic Refrigeration? How do you know? So I kind of foresee at some point in time the Arctic name kind of going away and it all being Kentucky Restaurant Supply. And at first that was kind of a tough pill to swallow, because you got, 42 years of Arctic Refrigeration that, has family ties, but, sentimentality will cost you money. You go away with the past and embrace the future, and that's what it is. That's kind of what I see. Will it happen? I don't know. It might be a little separate, but I kind of see that going that way. But yeah, the service model won't play heavily into the internet model. So it's just still strictly local, which will be our competitive advantage locally. Because a lot of the players elsewhere have gone strictly to a equipment and supplies only model. They're not doing service, and that's our competitive advantage. Why buy from them when you can buy from us, and we'll deliver it, we'll set it up, we'll install it, we'll make sure it's running, we'll da-da-da-da. After the sale, we'll do your warranty work, it's called manufacturer. Those are the things that we try to push to set us apart.
The local purchasing that you're talking about doing in that application is your recurring billing and the building your business and upselling and things of that nature. The outside selling on the internet for just individual pieces, of course, is a one-time buy unless you're going to buy multiple pieces. Have you thought about how you can expand that outside market so that where you have more services, products, or types of things that you can do for them, such as like designing commercial kitchens for them? Things of that nature, maybe give them some additional pieces that you can utilize.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big things that a lot of the larger players do is CAD services, design services, spec work, where they'll go in and a school might be throwing out a bid for a project, and those big players with the CAD software, the designers on staff, they can go in there and design it out and fill in their equipment and inspect the whole place and get the whole thing.
Well, that are really custom design pieces.
Yeah, custom design pieces. There's a lot of manufacturers that we can work with that, that kind of falls in that problem-solving area that customer calls up and says, here, I've got this, and I got a good example here recently. I had a nursing home here locally call me up and say, hey, we need to replace some cabinets and some shelving. What do we do? How do you get any ideas? Well, see, that's where, your local business can set apart. I can come in there, your internet can't come in there and look at your kitchen and say, well, I know about this product, we can fit that in here, or I have this, or I know about this, or whatever, and we can kind of work something up and work within a budget. So, that's a set apart. But I think from a standpoint of how do you keep those recurring internet sales, I think there's a little bit of brand loyalty to some degree with individual internet companies like Webstrong here. I mean, that has become a big competitor. They're a big boy. I compete with them. I think if you have a really well laid out website that's easy to navigate, it's easy to flow, it's got, of course, pricing is a big part of the internet model, but you're going to get repeat business, I think, with a well laid out site, something that's easy to navigate, good customer service over the phone and chat and the whole 9 yards. But what I've thought about.
Back to your talent issue that I guess Eric prompted with the first question. How much talking have you done with our local educational institutions about programs to really help grow grow your own here in the area?
We have. We've talked to college, and I talked to him about 2 or 3 years ago, talking to him from a standpoint of a road-ready candidate. And I think their curriculum is still geared a lot towards HVAC. And a lot of HVAC guys come out of it and say, oh, I'm HVAC, I can work on a walk-in cooler or ice machine. No, you cannot. I mean, might be able to, but there's a lot of processes that go on an ice machine that don't relate to air conditioning. You got water, you're freezing ice, there's some, float valves, sensors, there's stuff that doesn't happen in an air conditioner. So I've talked to them a little bit. They are moving that direction, and I think they're getting better at it. I don't think they're there yet. I think they've got some work to do from 2-3 years ago when I talked to them. I don't know where they're at now. So, I think for local curriculum, there is some possibility there, but I don't know.
Not there yet.
It's not
Okay.
there yet.
Maybe they need you on an advisory committee out there.
Yeah. And you got a business partner who knows more about service than I.
Aaron, thought on that, from the college's perspective, the heating and air conditioning people, they can crank out 20 service people for a given period of time, and 20 service people can usually find a job in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But although the refrigeration service tech is just as badly needed, but you don't need 20 of them.
Right.
And so if all you need is 2 or 3 or 4, that's not enough for the college
Sure.
to develop a curriculum around that.
Yep.
But it's the same problem we had when we started. We had the one guy from Ivy Tech come down, he took a course, and he started 25 cents an hour above minimum wage, I think, and this was back in the 70s. But they just didn't teach what was needed. And that was out of a community a lot larger than this one. But I think that's gonna be an ongoing problem
Yeah.
that will never be solved in this
Yeah,
community.
it's just, there's been times where we got a service tech quit, and I thought, oh, this service, we just have to give up. We just don't have the talent, it's just hard, and somebody else will come along. And I mean, in the 6 years, 5-6 years that I've been here, it has always kind of worked itself out. We've had challenges, we've worked our tails off, but we've made it. Coincidentally, those that don't know, this is Bruce Spencer, my advisory board here. That's my uncle. But
I was
it's-
the one that was out within 30 days of after he came in. No more questions, he had it.
Well, it's good questions, but it's always going to be a struggle. And and going back to the labor issue, we're a cyclical business. In the fall and in the winter, we slow down. In the spring and the summer, we get extremely busy. And I've struggled the last year or two. Where do you, and maybe somebody can clue me in on something I don't know, when do you say, you've got enough work here, you need to hire somebody else internally? With a service tech, it's easy. You can bill those hours out. The service tech pays for himself. But at what point do you bring somebody else in to help you in the office, to make sales, to help you order parts, to help you do, because I work and I'm ordering parts, I'm answering phone calls, I'm doing sales questions, I'm doing, going out helping deliver equipment, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and it feels like I get just stretched in 7 different, directions. And at what point do you say, hey, I can afford somebody to come in here and do this, but when I think about what I need, well, it's so many different varied avenues, it's almost got to be a jack of all trades. So, I mean, that's another thing I struggle with is, at what point in time do I need somebody else inside? And, I don't know. I think somebody else has experienced that as far as whenever.
How old's Jack?
Huh?
How old is Jack? Your son?
3.
There you go.
He went
That
back-
long.
He's almost there.
Yeah, he's almost here. He went back in the warehouse for the first time Monday, and he says, "Oh, Dad, you got all kinds of trucks that look like yours." And I said, "Yeah, I know." We drove the Ford truck. He says, "I want to get on there." I'm like, "Great, fantastic, but not right now. You can't do
Sounds like
that."
about 15 years.
Yeah, that's a long time to wait.
Yeah.
So,
Is it feasible or realistic or even possible to think about splitting your business into 2 pieces so that you can bill your internet business for your service? That way you've got 2 different streams of income.
that's a good thought. I mean, I had thought about the idea of splitting them briefly, but not to that.
I'll give you an example. Marco's in town and the Family Video, the holding company that owns that, they're a real estate business. So they own the land. And then they The fitness group is a separate company, and the video group is a separate company. So they're making money off of their own businesses. So I was wondering if there's a way that you could kind of parlay that to your business, and that might help you to have a little extra income where maybe you didn't before.
Yeah,
You'd have to
that's
talk
a
to
good
somebody
idea.
more in depth about that, but.
Yeah, and that goes back to talking and employing people that are smarter than you. You know, people that know what they're doing in certain categories, like knowing when to go out and hire somebody to do your marketing, knowing when to go out, and then just like what Merle Norman said the other day, it's just knowing when to employ that other person to, I don't know how to do this. My expertise is not this. I don't know how to do this. But yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think maybe that's kind of what I had in mind when I did Kentucky Restaurant Supply. I just hadn't thought down far enough. But I'll be the first to admit I'm no genius, and it's kind of figuring this stuff out as I go.
Just following on his idea, we do that same thing. We have a leasing company we leased ourselves, but there's a trade-off in that you've got another government entity, all the paperwork, the insurance. So there are advantages and disadvantages. So just think about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. This goes back to when you're an employee of a company versus an owner taking a draw. Okay, well, taking a draw is all well and good, but you have your tax situation, self-employment and stuff like that. Okay, so let's make ourselves an employee of the company. Okay, now there's workman's comp. Now you fall under the OSHA regulations. Now you fall, so it's just, you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't, so.
What I see, Aaron, is you're already at that position in your business that you need to hire some more people. Build it and they will come. The business is here for you. You notice what I do with the service side of things is lacking, as far as not on your business, but just in general, having enough service guys to get out there and make those calls. With even some of the equipment that we have, when we have to call the manufacturer, it could be a week before they can get somebody here. So those service calls are out there for you, so I think that if you hire those people, you'll see that return pretty quick. And that's what we ended up having to do here. We were in a position that, okay, we're too small to go big, but we're too big to go small.
Yeah.
So now what do we do? And I think that if you'll go ahead and bring those people in, you'll see your business start to increase and grow in the area that you want.
So you felt like you took the gulp and said, well, I don't have the money right now, but hopefully if I hire you,
Yeah,
I'll have the business to pay
it
you.
will come.
Okay.
And that's exactly what ended up happening for us. I think that's what you'll see in most any small business, is they get to that point in their business that they're too big to go small, too small to go big, and they're just struggling. And you have to make that hard choice of, do I do it, or do I just go back home? Do I go work for somebody else, or do I just go ahead and take that step in small business and be that entrepreneur that you are? You're already making those changes, and I would say go for it.
Yeah, well, that's that's what I was trying to learn. I'm just too cheap to say, yeah, let's go ahead and slap on the payroll before I have money to pay it.
Well, and you and I have discussed some other options in the past, and on my part, I just haven't gotten back to you on it. But those are areas that that are available to you out there.
Yeah.
Just a monthly service options.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks, Dad. That's kind of what I see this whole thing as being, is not only just, hey, this is my business, but, hey, what are my challenges? This is my challenge, what do you guys think? Not just asking questions, but,